What's up, everybody? Josh Armijo here. I hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I got an album review to do for you, and I'm going to be talking to you about the new album from the band Putrid Pile, entitled Revel In Lunacy. This is released on Sevared Records. Now, if you're not too familiar with this band, it's based out of Racine, Wisconsin, and the best way to describe the sound of this band would be a very traditional, perverse, gory style of brutal death metal. Yeah. I think Putrid Pile is in a league of its own when it comes to one-man brutal death metal projects, as there are quite a lot of them, but this is one of the legacy bands, in my humble opinion. Putrid Pile is, of course, the band formed and created by one Sean Lacan. He is the main guy behind this project. He does all the vocals, all the music, all the lyrics, and throughout the course of almost 2 decades now, this project has been putting out some very memorable and solid music. Of course, he has a very distinctive and recognizable vocal style, ranging from really low guttural vocals to some very crazy shrieks, to some very memorable musical material, most notably his first couple of full-length albums, such as Collection of Butchery and The Pleasure in Suffering. Of course, the latter album having probably one of the best in-color Chris Moyen album covers ever, to memorable split releases with the likes of Discracia, and of course the one split that got him more shot into notoriety with Viral Load, released through Relapse. I still think it's crazy that Relapse Records released a split with those two bands. Unbelievable split. And then, of course, later material like 2009's House of Dementia, 2012's Blood Fetish, and the last time we had heard something from Putrid Pile back in 2016 with Paraphiliac Perversions. Of course, Putrid Pile is like a fine wine. It only gets better with age and with taste. And of course, the music somehow gets evolved too. It's a similar sort of formula, but I feel like Putrid Pile does his best to keep up with the times and keep up with more of a modern and contemporary sound. But now moving into 2020, we have the 6th full-length from Putrid Pile entitled Revel In Lunacy. It's 11 tracks, and it clocks in at around 33 minutes in length, so pretty much once you listen to this album, you already are going to be accustomed to everything you would know best about a Putrid Pile release, from the way the guitar riff sounds, to the way the drum programming is, to the way the vocals are conceptualized. Of course, this is your typical sort of Putrid Pile sound, but I feel like in some instances there are some things on this album that make it stand out and make it different from previous Putrid Pile full-lengths. Going on to the music, of course, Sean is an absolutely phenomenal guitar player. His riffs and his tone for every single track absolutely makes the difference. You hear it on the first opening couple of tracks like Death Waits for No One and Devilism, to later songs like Bone Digger. I want to say that towards the beginning moments of Bone Digger, you hear some riffs that have an almost black metal-esque sort of quality going for it. I don't know if it's just me or not, but when I listen to that song and I listen to those riffs that you hear on that song, I think are really, really cool, and it makes the song that much different. In addition to the overall craziness that is Sean Lacan's guitar playing, he knows exactly what he's doing, and he makes every riff on that song memorable. And then later on with songs like Fit Subject for a Murder, Starving for Your Blood, and the closer of this album with I'd Rather Have You Dead. Just some really excellent guitar playing going on here. It's definitely well played, well balanced. The riffs are tight, the riffs are crunchy. I absolutely love what's going on here with that. When it comes to the drumming, of course, Sean Lacan does program drums here, and of course he does his best to make the drums have that almost authentic sort of sound quality going for it. And I think here on Revel in Lunacy, he does a really good job with keeping up with the pacing of the drum styles, whether it be fills or blast beats or double bass. There's a lot of differences and variety going on here with this drum performance, I should say. And I think it's really solid and keeps a very strong and solid pace throughout. And speaking of vocals, when it comes to the vocals, like I mentioned, Sean has a very recognizable, distinctive vocal style, very guttural, very undecipherable, very unrecognizable sorts of things coming out of his mouth. And I like the vocal diversity that's being done here. Of course, you know him for his guttural styles, but I think he goes to an even lower register on certain tracks, which makes things sound really, really cool. And I love that he includes the lower registers of his vocals. And then, of course, you get the depraved high screams and shouts and everything that you would best know Sean LeCun to do best. Of course, the layerings of the different vocal styles coming together works out very well here. And also one thing to point out is the fact that there's a couple of really cool short tracks on here. Almost plays into an almost grind sort of mentality, like on the track Cunt Kebab and Half Ghoul. I really dig that he incorporates these really short tracks on this album. Kind of adds a little bit of a nice wrinkle to what is already a diverse Putrid Pile record. So overall, I really had an awesome time listening to this album. If you're into Putrid Pile, if you're familiar with his works, if you're accustomed to what the Putrid Pile sound is, I think you're really going to enjoy this album. I don't know if I like it more than I did the previous Putrid Pile record, but I definitely would say this is another top notch and a top addition to Putrid Pile's already solid discography. So if I had to think of any personal favorite tracks, I would definitely have to say Death Waits for No One, Devilism, Cunt Kebab, Bone Digger, Starving for Your Blood, and No Rest for the Wicked is another really good track too. So what I'm going to do is I'll leave you some links in the description box to how you can get a hold of this album and listen to it. I will leave you a link to the Putrid Pile Severed Records Bandcamp page. Severed Records has been around for a long, long time, but they finally made a Bandcamp page, so I'll leave you a link in the description to that, where you can listen to this album in its entirety, hear it for yourself, and be your own judge as to whether you think it's worthy of being purchased or not. You can stream it by digitally, and it's available physically as a CD. There's also merchandise options. I will also leave you a link in the description to Gorehouse Productions. They are putting out the tape version of this album, and if I'm not mistaken, Pathologically Explicit Recordings is putting out the vinyl version of this, so keep an eye and ear out if you're interested in Putrid Pile on vinyl. So again, the album is Revel in Lunacy by Putrid Pile. This is released on Severed Records. Definitely check this one out. And for a score, I'm going to give this a pretty solid 8.5 out of 10. Another solid entry into the already awesome Putrid Pile discography. So if you happen to have heard this album, definitely let me know what you think about it, how you feel about it, and how you think it compares to previous Putrid Pile releases. Or any of you guys into Putrid Pile, definitely let me know. I'm going to conclude this review. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel. Until the next time, Army Hell out.